a session by our guest from India, Ms. Apala Chavan, and she's going to give a session about innovating and designing products and services for the emerging markets. But before we start, I would like to share with you some information about her. And first, again, before I start the bio, we would like to thank Dr. Galal Hassan. He is the director of Kwezu, Cairo University Innovation Support Office, because actually we were working with him to organize and to be able to have this session today. And he was the one who made us know about HFI and this interesting session. And about Kwezu, they have the first Cairo University Innovation Chair. Am I correct? So now let's get started. Ms. Apala Chavan, she has been in HFI, Human Factors International, since 1999, and she is currently the VP of Asia, managing offices in India, China, and Singapore. She is a world expert on contextual innovation, the discipline of creating breakthrough product concepts and adopting existing products, services, and technologies to new markets. HP Labs, Nokia, Sony Ericsson, and Intel are just a few of the companies that have benefited from the innovation techniques that she has created and pioneering techniques in this exciting and growing field. Apala and her team, they have helped designers, marketeers, product managers to apply her innovative techniques to develop exciting new concepts and products. And she systematically guides the ideation process to uncover patterns, to reveal the exciting breakthrough ideas that can drive your business and create more revenues and profits. So please let's welcome our guest, Apala Chavan.
I hope it's working now. I think it was too far from my place. Anyway, okay. I know I have a tough time because it's after lunch and this is the graveyard hour when everybody falls asleep. So maybe we shall not switch off the lights because then I have absolutely no chance. So what I'm going to speak today about is related to so much that has already been spoken, as much as I could understand, and Professor Galal very kindly translated a lot also. First of all, I have to tell you that I feel so honored and so delighted to be here in Egypt. It's one of those fantasies that I think at least every child in India has grown up. I don't know whether it's the same today for children growing up in India, but it certainly was when we were growing up. Stories about Egypt, it seemed like the land that, you must visit before you pass on to the next world. And so here I am at long last in Egypt, sort of the cradle of one of the most ancient civilizations, and I feel really, really proud to be here. So thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Galal, for all the collaboration with you and the department in the university, and of course, TAEC for inviting me here for this session. So today we've been talking about Egypt, where it's such a significant moment in the history of the country because of the changes, and I think everybody's still trying to understand the implications of the changes, why they happened, etc. Emerging markets is all about that. If there's one word that describes all emerging markets, it's continuous change. It's a state of flux. While the change is felt in a certain way here in Egypt, it is felt in a different way in India, where there is deep unrest growing between those who have a lot of money and those who don't, in the form of a lot of armed warfare. China, where there's a lot of unrest growing between rural China, which is not so well off, and the huge mega success story that is urban China. Every one of the emerging markets has turbulence, which is disruption, but in a positive sense. And all my experience while working with human factors has been about the changes that we are seeing in the emerging markets from a designer's perspective, not from a political person's perspective, from an innovation and design person's perspective. And that's what I'm going to present to you. Stories about opportunities people have taken in emerging countries and succeeded. And so we would like to share that and learn about that. And now before I move on, just a 2-minute advertisement for my company. It'll just be 2 minutes. So we are based around the world. As you can see, it's a company that is the largest consulting company in the area of human experience, research and design, also called user experience in many parts of the world. One of the main philosophies of our company is that anything you design, whether, of course, we mainly design technology-related products and services, but whether it's technology directly or it's packaging, whatever it is, it's got to be a combination of efficiency, that is performance being really good in terms of experience of the customer, as well as motivation being taken care of. So it's all about combining various aspects of psychology and design. And so, just how a human being is more efficient, using those aspects of cognitive psychology to make sure that what you design really works for the user. For example, all human beings, irrespective of which country we come from, our physiological system is built in such a way that we cannot read blue and red text if they are put together. If one is put on another, blue color on red or red color on blue, we cannot read it properly. Doesn't matter whether you're Egyptian, Indian, American, British, doesn't matter. We are all wired in some respects in the same way. We've got to know that, because if you put blue and red together, you seriously undermine the efficiency of reading for the user. So performance must be optimized when we design. But at the same time, if I even design it such that blue and red are not combined, are you going to be motivated to read it? That's a completely different issue. Are you going to be persuaded to want to read this very efficiently designed text? Not necessarily. Because we also know as psychologists that the human being has one part of the brain which is right here at the bottom. It's called the limbic system. This brain makes all the emotional decisions, the fuzzy area of the brain. And so while my rational prefrontal cortex is telling me, you should read this, but my limbic system is telling me, don't, it's not interesting, don't read it. It's like the whole issue of being overweight. We all know our rational brain tells us, listen, don't eat that extra ice cream. It's not good for you. You're already overweight. But this limbic part of the brain doesn't listen to that and says, go for it. Just eat it. So our design from human factors is a combination of making sure that the efficiency and the persuasion are combined so that you will have your user or your consumer actually want to buy or use the product. If only they decide to do that, can they experience efficiency? If they don't buy it, then what use is the efficiency that you've got? We are all, we come from various disciplines in the company, mainly psychology, social, cognitive, design, various aspects of design, from industrial design to filmmaking to architecture, as well as from the social sciences, that is mainly anthropology, cultural anthropology, but also sociology. That's the combination of all our sort of skill bases. As an organization that consults Fortune 500 companies around the world and has been doing for 30 years, we believe that innovation is not some inborn talent. Of course, some people are more innovative than others. That's taken for granted. Does that mean that innovation cannot be acquired skill? No, that's not true. You can acquire it. And so we have a framework, a process that we teach people as well as use ourselves that makes it possible to do good research and understand users and then come up with good ideas and concepts and then to move forward and design those ideas in terms of products or services. I'm going to present experiences that I've already put together in a book that was published late last year. It's about a journey that as designers we experience in the emerging markets because it's a very different world, full of different worldviews, different realities, which are not captured by Western product designers who push products that are designed in the West, push it to a lot of emerging markets. Those are different realities. So we've tried to capture in the book and in today's presentation the same thing. How do you look at your own realities and create winning ideas, not just for your own context, but perhaps even for other contexts around you? Much work has been done by me and my colleagues on understanding different aspects of technology, whether it's mobile technology or whether it's appliances, how those work out, or whether it's banking systems, how those work out differently in emerging countries. And we know that so much is different that all the newly opened markets, which ironically are all the ancient civilizations, whether it's Asia, Africa, or Latin America, but they are now re-emerging, and they're all the emerging, attractive markets. They have very, very different ways in using technology, distribution channels, the preferences people have. These are different. So we often have arguments with Western designers who say, how can a mobile phone, what difference can it have between the way it's designed in Britain and in India? The task that the user is going to accomplish is the same. It's about calling or texting. So what difference can you bring into design? That is so wrong. It is so terribly wrong to have that kind of a philosophy behind designing products. And so, again, that's what I'm going to talk about. One of my gurus is Professor Genevieve Bell. She's one of the most famous cultural anthropologists in the world today. She works as chief anthropologist with Intel Corporation based in the US. Intel is one of the most progressive companies who started a department of anthropologists who travel the world and understand how different people, how the structures in those societies are pushing people to a certain type of need for technology. And she goes back and then they ideate on future products and future service concepts. She, when interviewed about differences between emerging markets and developed markets, said there are these three myths that she has to struggle with in America particularly, where the feeling is, emerging markets are just poor versions of developed markets. So just make everything cheap. Just make the same phone, make it cheaper. They just buy cheap stuff. That's it. That's not right. Again, it's a myth. And she says, no, it's not true that the Chinese just want to be Americans finally. Of course, we have aspirations for prosperity, which may be what has been achieved by other countries in the West. That doesn't mean our flavor of prosperity is the same, that we are going to just get dumbed down versions of products. Similarly, the second myth is that, everything that you design, as long as it copies the West and it's cheap, and all emerging markets are the same. So if you do these two things and then you can sell across, whether in Cairo or in Jakarta or Chennai, the same product will manage as long as it's cheap and as long as you have made sure you're imitating a Western product. Emerging markets are just one blur of the same type of people. Again, such ignorance, because that's not true. We have immense diversity across emerging markets, from Turkey to China, with Brazil and Mexico and South Africa and India. We're all different, and we celebrate our diversity. We don't have to appear similar. Within our countries, we have a lot of diversity. So it's not right to pretend that the same product can work across all emerging markets. So what I do in the book, and today what I will do in the presentation, is to look at who are the emerging markets and what are the similarities and differences. How do you understand people in these markets? Why is that important even? How do you understand their ecosystem? Why is that important? Why do you have to bother about an ecosystem?